Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Oh my gosh. New faces and old faces. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Connie. And
My new
um,
best friend.
Abby. Yay. And Anderson. And welcome, Mike and Pamela. McKenna, you're here. Awesome. I wanted to talk with you. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the VO Dojo's Ask the Sensei. I am Tish Hicks. I'm the Master Sensei here in Burbank, California. We're joined by Kelsey V, who is part of the Dojo team who keeps everything running. And this is our free monthly Q&A call that we do usually the first Wednesday of every month, but holidays. So we're doing it on the 10th, and we are super excited to have one of my esteemed voiceover colleagues joining us, Jessica Blue, who is um, has a fantastic background as a voiceover performer and is also um, moved into the realm of dubbing and has created her own company and so knows a lot about that. So, um, this day is about answering your questions. We're here to answer questions about that you have about where you're at or what's on your mind, what you're stuck on or what you're dreaming of. So we're here to answer questions for you um, in whatever way we can. So we'll start now and we'll go for, a tight hour of 11 o'clock. If you have to roll at that time, that's great. Sometimes if there's more questions, we'll do a little extended dance mix afterwards, but we'll complete at the top of the hour. Um, and I'm going to have Jessica introduce herself a little bit more. And then in that time, if you can let us know where you're calling from, it's always great to know where around the world everybody's coming from because we get the honor and privilege of working with everyone around the world. And then it's also where you can put your questions. So we'll be taking your questions as they come in to the chat, and Kelsey will call you in to share your voice in the room, and we'll answer as many as we can, and hopefully open our hearts and minds to all the possibilities and keep you all moving forward. So glad to see y'all here. Um, Jessica, welcome,
Hi.
welcome, my dear. So good to have you here. If you didn't have a chance to catch our Dojo 21 questions, it's something that we do before the Ask the Sensei. It's just an interview about basically origin story. So if you have, we'll get a little overview from Jessica about who she is and what she's about, and then if you want the extended dance mix, take in the 21 questions we did. But Jessica, tell us about you and what you're up to. Who are you? What you up to these days?
Thank you, Tish. Thanks for having me, guys. It's super fun to be here, and I see some familiar faces. So, hi, familiar faces, and hi, new faces that I haven't met yet. My name is Jessica Blue. I am originally from Northern California, the Bay Area, and now currently living and working in Los Angeles. Started out as a voice actor back up north, doing a little bit of everything, a lot of narration, a lot of video games, and worked on creating a animation show with some friends, and we would come down to LA and pitch it, and kind of fell in love with LA. And one by one, everybody kind of started migrating to LA, and I was kind of on the fence of that, never really interested in living in LA. And then one trip, I just kind of thought, I don't really want to go home. I think I am home. I want to stay here. So it got its claws in me and pulled me in and kept me here. So I've been here for 10 years, 11 years now. Best decision of my life. Never thought I would be where I'm at. Because about 6, 7 years ago, a dear friend of mine, colleague, mentor, my best friend, asked me to help him with a dubbing project that he was going to direct. and we kind of taught ourselves the world of dubbing and learned it firsthand on the job. And that's where I learned how to adapt English scripts for the foreign projects, and also got to watch firsthand director in action and took everything I could learning from that. Um, and then slowly but surely, I got offered some adapting jobs, to rewrite the English scripts and then turn that in, parlayed that into directing. And so then I started directing more and more projects, and now casting as well. So, because a lot of companies, as you know, money talks and they want to do everything for less. And
Mhm.
so they'll ask, a lot of times, they'll have the directors handle the casting as well. So I've amassed my own little talent roster of amazing, awesome talent. Some on camera, a lot of voiceovers, some who've never done dubbing, some who have. It is definitely a skill set that takes practice. It can be a little overwhelming at first, but once you get it, it's like riding a bike and you just get better and better the more you do it. And I love it. And it's so much fun.
It's
And
like being in a movie without having to be on set.
yes.
You
Yes.
get
And
you
it's
get
like
to
it's
be
cool
in
because you get
the
to dive in
movie.
these characters and really immerse yourself in them. And it's not like, a 30-second commercial for a car company where it's like one and done. And it's not, and you don't have to learn the script, which that's even better. No memorization is great. You're just reading. You have to be a really, really good reader on the fly. And it's crazy because sometimes it's like going super fast. Um, but it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Awesome. Well, so great to have you here. And I also love how the path of voiceover might start one place and then opens up
Oh, yeah.
whole worlds. At the dojo, our mission is to align you with the power and possibility of your voice. And if that means doing voiceover and getting paid for voiceover, hooray. If that means discovering that you're really, that there's this whole other realm, that you're a director and that's what you love and that's how you're getting your voice in the world. Huzzah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, super, super amazing. Um, cool. And I think it's always really good. There's so many the dojo we talk about well, we get to know people over a long period of time that we work with people. So there's always these moments of like, oh, ooh, it's a whole nother wing of the mansion that we haven't explored, like opening up. So I think when there's these new realms that we may like heard of, but like, oh, what is that? How do I do that? What skill sets are needed for that? It's cool.
That's the cool thing about voiceover too, is that there's so many different genres, and you probably didn't even
Hmm.
realize that when you first got into it. You thought, I want to be a cartoon, let's go animation. So you dive into that and you realize, holy moly, that's a lot. And but then there's also this avenue and audiobooks and video games and all this other stuff. And it's like, wow. And so you can kind of, I don't know, tailor your toolkit to whatever thing and put on different hats depending on what genre you want to work in. And maybe you find out, okay, animation isn't for me, which I kind of went down that road. Um, and then you kind of pivot and switch gears, like I think I like narration or e-learning or commercials or whatever, and then you go that route, and then it kind of opens up this whole other world. And it's kind of cool when you just kind of go with the flow and keep an open mind and don't limit yourself to just one thing. It just makes you more well-rounded.
Yeah,
I
diversify your portfolio is how we approach it. Of your revenue streams. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, fantastico. Let's get started with some questions. What questions
bring
do
it
you
all.
have, Kelsey? Do we have questions? If we don't,
We don't have questions yet.
okay.
Drop them in the chat.
So let me explain the title, question and answer. Questions being really important part of this call. So, and they don't have to be about dubbing or anything, just like anything that's going on. Like what is one question wherever you are in your voiceover journey? What is one question that you're like, what what about this? Like, that would get me forward. It would be great for you to start this call in one place and get something that keeps you moving forward. And, for all of us, depending on where we are on the journey, those questions vary, right? Because for some of us, it might be just starting like, how does this whole thing work? Or like, what do I say to my agent when da 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 da? Or yeah, so yeah, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay, I'm gonna put your questions in the chat, and how are we doing now? How are we doing now with
Yes,
questions?
we got some people who
Awesome.
decided to come into the ring. Um,
PBS pledge drive. Your
exactly.
your donations are important. It's what keeps us going.
Lisa Hammer, come on up. And if you have questions, please drop them into the chat so I can do them in a very fair, orderly style.
Well, hello, Jessica. Thank you for being
Hi.
here. So, as my question says, dubbing really interests me. I do commercial and I do e-learning. What specific skills do I need for dubbing?
Great question.
Mhm.
Be a really good actor. That's first and foremost. Because I mean, the thing about dubbing too, it's very subjective from a casting standpoint. You could be the best actor in the world, but if I don't believe that your voice matches the face that I'm seeing on screen, it's not going to be a match. So I'm also looking for not an exact voice match, but the tone, the quality, the personality that I know you might have, or that I know that you could do. But a lot of it is age and tone. That's a huge important part of when we're casting. But honestly, is being a good actor and being able to read really fast and be able to it's going to sound weird, but watch and read at the same time. Um,
Mhm.
because not only are you watching the scene, the video of what's happening in the scene, what your character's doing, who your character's talking to, but you're also having to read the rhythm band, which is the line on the bottom. It's like karaoke, and it's going super fast. And it might be like 3 or 4 lines because it's your line and then the character's lines that you're talking to in the scene. And it's zipping by super fast, and you got to be able to read it really fast and follow along. And then also when you're performing it, so you're reading, you're performing, and you have to be able to time it such that you start it on time and end on time. And
Mhm.
there's times, where we'll do a second take and we'll, get it just right. And obviously our engineers, who are wizards, magicians, they can nudge it so much. But we got to have something to work with that's like closer to the timing of it. So yeah, being able to read really well and fast and understand, get a good grip of the character pretty quick. I mean, a lot of this stuff you're doing it on the fly. You don't have a lot of information to go on. I usually sit down with the actors before the session starts and give you a little bit of the background of your character, of the show as a whole, if I know it. Sometimes I don't have all the information, so I'm kind of flying blind myself. But I will give you as much information as I possibly can to set you up to win. And then we just go and play, and it's kind of just do it, really.
Yeah. And I think there's also something about being able to instantly get to the emotional state, whatever that is. Like if you're on set and you're interacting with somebody or but here you just have to like be there in that instantly.
Yeah.
Um,
And a
yeah.
lot of that really is watching and listening to what's happening on screen, because we're trying to match that as close as
Mhm.
possible so that it looks legitimate and authentic as if it was the real thing. So if you see a character who's throwing their voice and yelling or something, you want to match that and have that same volume versus being intimate or just having a conversation, normal at normal volume level. So it's really a matter of like all your senses are firing because you're watching, you're reading, you're listening, you're taking it all in. So it's a lot, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, I promise.
Yeah. Good. Good question, Lisa. Yeah. What other questions do we have? Kelsey?
Yes, great job, guys. Taking initiative on the sudden influx of questions. Rich Summers, come on
Hey,
up.
Rich.
Hello, hello. Hi, Tish. Hi, Kelsey.
Hi.
And nice to meet you, Jessica.
Nice to meet you. Hi, Rich.
So, I'm a voice actor located about 60 miles north of Boise, Idaho, in the mountains.
Love it.
I've got representation, all across the country, but I rarely, if ever, see auditions for work that's tied to Netflix or Hulu or some of the network stuff. How do I get my finger on that pulse from Idaho?
How do you get the jobs? Great
Yeah.
question. Unfortunately, it's interesting because the casting process, sometimes there are auditions that will be sent out, and they're usually sent out to agents. So if you're interested in dubbing, make sure your agents know. Tell them that you want to do dubbing if anything comes through. The downside of that is sometimes agents are kind of poo-pooing against dubbing because it doesn't make them a lot of money and it doesn't pay that much. It's super fun, but it's not super lucrative. It is if you get a lead, because that means multiple sessions for you. But some agents, they just don't want to be bothered with it. But if you are adamant and you tell them, hey, any dubbing stuff comes in, please send it my way. I want to do that. So that's first and foremost. Make sure your agent knows you're interested in that. The other thing is that other times too, if we're not holding auditions or sending out sides, we're just casting it based on our own pool of people. So the more directors you get in front of, the more directors you network with and build a relationship with and know, and who know you and come to know your work, that's great, because then you're in their mindset and you might get on their roster to be considered for that. I will say the number one question I always get is, do you do remote dubbing? And the answer is yes and no. The majority of projects I work on, the studios are in LA and they prefer to have in-person studios, in-person sessions. That's not to say that it's not going to happen that we have a remote session, because there are other studios that are open to that. It's hit and miss. It depends on the project. It depends on the client. So it's a crapshoot as far as that goes, but it's there. It is a possibility. So the more you are knowing of who the directors are, which also you can Google, you can do a little bit of research, find out who these other directors are, take a class with them, send them your info to, start a discussion to possibly get on their radar. Another option too is Google the dubbing studios, whether they're in LA or in your area or in New York or wherever. And a lot of these dubbing studios maintain their own talent roster. So if you can figure out those studios, go and send them your demos and everything and say, hey, I took a class, or I'm very interested in dubbing, or I've got this credit, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to be considered or added to your talent roster and be considered for any future roles. Do that. Another way to find those studios is go on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or whatever, go to the end credits, and a lot of times they will have the credits for the dubbing actors and studios, and you'll see who the studio is, who the producer is, who the director was, and then all the people who were the voice actors. So that's a great way to kind of stalk people. I didn't say stalk, just find them.
Perfect. All right.
Connect.
So I've got homework to do now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Awesome. Good, good, good. What are the questions, guys? You can ask about anything. Ask us anything.
All right, Rob, come on up.
Hey, Trish. Hey, Kelsey. It's first time in the dojo, so nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Jessica, question for you. Always lovely to see you again, by the way. Is there a big difference between dubbing for live action and then, say, dubbing for animation when you're looking for stuff?
Yes, great question. It depends on the animation, but a lot of times, from what I've heard, live action will have the rhythm band going. Animation might not have a rhythm band. You might just have a written script, like an Excel spreadsheet with time codes on it. So it will have a line that you have to say within a certain amount of time, and you might just do 3 in a row of those lines, kind of a little bit like video games. So yes, it's very different. And sometimes with animation, you might not have a full scene of the animation. You might just have a character, and it might be the beginnings of the animation. So it's not that you're necessarily matching lip flaps and all that. And plus, with animation, it's literally like this is all you're matching to. Whereas with live action, we're very much more focused on the nuances of the lip movements and making sure that if the sentence ends on a closed mouth, we're on a closed mouth, speaking on a closed mouth. So that's a huge difference with animation and live action. So yeah, there's a little bit of difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for both you have to figure out, when the Dojo we talk about the tone of the tune, so you have to figure out what is that energy, and in the same way that you have to match, like, what is the tone of the thing that you're dubbing, right? Is it
Absolutely. Yeah. Live action is much more grounded, much more cinematic, much more authentic and natural and real. Whereas animation, again, depending on the animation, it could be wild and crazy and zany and kooky, and you could have all these crazy voices, or it could be anime where it's an offshoot of live action to where it is a little more grounded, but it's still more a little over the top than live action dubbing would be. So definitely a difference in the
human experience plus
yeah. Exactly.
what we really feel anime. I was just thinking, like, this is what I do sometimes feel like, ah. That is how I feel exactly.
Exactly.
So yeah, awesome, good, excellent questions. What's next, Kelsey? Who's next, I guess?
Camille Kinward, come on up.
Hey, Camille. Donde está? Where is she? There she is. Hello. Oh, you're muted, dear.
Of course I am. Learning the tech, learning the tech. I have well, it could be a general question, but it could be also specific for dubbing because it's video, right? So demo. If you've never done it before, how do you know what to put on a demo? You can't put previous work. Do you do one genres, many genre, live action with animation? And do you give just a voice sample, or do you give an audio sample or like a video sample? So it's sort of a general demo question.
Excellent question. For casting purposes for dubs, I'm usually going straight to your commercial demo. Very rarely will you have a dubbing demo, and usually people that have dubbing demos or reels are people that have already done dubbing projects. They have them under their belt, and they're actually the actual work that they did, and it's used more as a showcase to send out to new directors that they haven't worked for, or studios, or to put it on their website or whatever. But to get in the door of dubbing, you do not need to have a dubbing reel. Don't do it, actually, because it's kind of weird to like take someone else's work and dub over it because it's not your own. It's just kind of a weird thing. So I would, first and foremost, I just need any sample of your voice, and I usually go to your commercial because that is something that will have your most natural speaking voice on it. You might have the range of different emotions and personalities depending on whatever commercial spot you put on there, but I can get a sense of your natural sounding voice and as well as your range. And then I might go to a video game demo or a character demo if you have one. Really, I just need anything that can give me a sample of your voice and what you sound like, because again, first and foremost, I'm thinking age, tone, and that range to fit that character.
Right.
But and if you don't have a demo yet, then yeah, just record something. Take a character or a spot or something, and record a sample. Again, just so I have something. But help me help you. If I can't find somewhere to hear you, I am not going to be able to hire you. So I need to be able to put the voice to the face, voice to the name. Yeah.
And
Amazing. Amazing.
if you are casting somebody, in animation, you might get hired for a main character, but then you'd also be asked to cover a bunch of other characters. How does that work in dubbing? Does it kind of depend on,
It does.
like,
Yeah, it's different for live action. For the leads are only doing the leads. They're not going to do anything else, unless they happen to be in a scene where we do what's called wallow, which is background chatter, like in a restaurant or something. If there's like a group scene and we see the leads are somewhere back there and we see their lips moving, we're going to make sure that they're in there talking because they're leads and they should be we should be able to hear them. But otherwise, the lead is all that they're going to do. That's the only character. We will, however, hire and cast people to do a multitude of what we call incidental characters. It's the waiter, it's the doctor, the taxi driver, the doorman, the nurse, whatever.
A little bit more the looping of dubbing.
Exactly. And they will also go in and ad lib and do walla as we need it for restaurants or hospitals or train stations or whatever. So those incidentals, you could be doing 3 voices, you could be doing 15 voices. And it's not that you have to sound like 15 different people. We'll just change your tone, your pitch a little bit, have you change your tone and pitch a little bit just to sound like a different person. But most of the time these are 1-liners, 2-liners. So, and it's going to be way in the background. So it's not super important that it's like that we can hear like, wait a second, I just heard that person right there, you know? And we also try to make sure that the scenes are separated when you are an incidental, that you're not in a scene talking to yourself, because we've had that come up. The characters, you know, that you're voicing or talking to yourself, we don't want to have that. We want to have as much separation as possible. So we try to spread it out to where if you are an incidental, you might be in episode 1 as 2 characters, and episode 3 is 4 characters, and you're not in 2 and you're not in 4, whatever. And so kind of like spread it out. And for secondary leads, sometimes, again, in a pinch, if you know we have a need where we just have another role that's a quick 1-liner, we might have someone just quickly voice it. I might even go in and voice something just to like get it off the books and check mark it is done. But normally, no, if you're a lead, you are only the lead. And sadly, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, you don't know what you booked until you walk into the session. And that's when I get to surprise you and say, surprise, you're doing 15 voices today. Or you're, you know, usually when you're the lead, you will know that walking into it, because you're going to have a lot of sessions booked, because leads take a lot of time to, because they have the most dialogue.
Like
So
how many? Like for a like if you're doing a feature or if you're doing an episodic. Like
it depends on the project, because some projects are more wordy than others. I had one show where my lead guy would have 500 lines in a 1-hour show. And
Oh wow.
that was like a 4-hour plus session just for that one episode. And I've had other episodes where the entire episode was 500 lines. So it just varies depending on the project and how wordy it is.
Yeah. And you get paid by time, not by character, right?
Correct. It's all by session. Most of the sessions I work on are union. There are non-union jobs out there. So we are most of the time under the Netflix agreement for SAG-AFTRA. I think we just got a raise, so it's like 190 something per hour with a now
Shake
it's
it up, girls.
2-hour
Lots of
minimum. So
coffee.
lead characters, it can be kind of lucrative if you book a lead, because it's like you're almost in the studio almost every day or several times for several weeks to get it all done. So it used to be a minimum of 3 hours. I think they just changed it and went back to 2 hours, thank God. So you're in there for minimum of 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, no more than usually 4, sometimes 5 if it's like super crunch time and we got to get everything in. But don't worry, we take breaks. I got you. I'm not going to run you to the ground because I need you to come back and do more and more and more. So, yeah.
Cool. Excellent. What other questions about anything? Ask us anything.
Okay. The next question is from me. I know, haha. So could you give me some tips on how to dub well, like some little secret tricks, and how long did it take you to get the hang of it? And did you practice before the first time you did it, or was it just like, oh God, they're making me watch this video and now I'm doing a voice, you know?
I didn't practice. I was thrown in the hot seat and said,
We
swim.
learned
I'm like,
on the job.
let's do it. It literally is. It's kind of like trial by fire, and just it's like jumping in the deep end and just winging it. I'd say the biggest thing for me is to watch and listen to the scene. without speaking. I mean, most of the time when you're prepping or you're running through and rehearsing a script, you're reading it out loud because you want to get your mouth around the words, you want to understand where the natural pauses might be, because you don't have a visual necessarily. But this, you have a visual. So I want to watch and listen to what they're doing on the screen. Because I need to know how loud they're going to be, how far away are they from the other person that they're speaking to, what's their emotion, the intention behind what it is they're saying. So I need to be able to hear all of that stuff. And I'm talking out loud and reading the lines. I'm not listening to what is happening on screen. So I want to watch as much as I can and listen, but read as well. So it is a trick to kind of watch and read at the same time. That is a skill set that, again, just takes practice doing it. And one way you can practice that is turn on your TV, turn on subtitles. It's not going to be an exact match, but if you watch the scene with the volume on and then go back, rewind it and mute the volume and just read the subtitles along with the show, that's a good way to practice watching and reading at the same time. Again, it's not going to be exact, but it'll start to kind of build that muscle. The other tip I would say is watch for breathing. Breathing is super weird and it's always there because we have to add in the breaths. Because if you see someone go like that, you're like, what is that? Well, they're doing a sigh. They're taking a breath in and an inhale in and out. And we have to put that in. We have to match that on screen because we can also hear them do that. So we need to add that. So another thing is to watch people's chests and shoulders as they're breathing to kind of get that motion down. That's a really good trick. And also when they're doing those breaths or laughs, is their mouth open or is it closed? Because sounds different than it's different when it's open and closed mouth. So we're always constantly watching what that looks like. Same with the breaths. An open mouth breath is different than a closed mouth breath. And you can hear it. And it sounds awkward when you're watching something with a closed mouth and you hear, it's jarring. So we want to be very, very specific on that. So just paying attention to as much as possible to what you see on screen. Super important.
It's gotten so much more sophisticated than like
Oh yeah,
joking, like, Japanese monster movie dubbing. Sort of.
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
so subtle now. Yeah.
Yeah, our whole goal is to try to have you forget that you're watching a dub. So if we can match as close as possible the beginning and ends of sentences to what is happening on screen, then our brain can kind of fill in the middle and sort of makes you kind of forget that you're watching a dub. So a really good, well-written dub can do that, and that's what we strive for.
Yeah. Good. 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 What other
Also,
questions? Huh?
I just thought of the fact that Chrome now has a thing that if you look in the settings, it will automatically translate video for you. So it's possible to pull from that and read from that
Amazing.
if you're wanting to do that. But anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Camille, come on up again.
I'm getting a personalized session today. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for having the session today, Tish. I really, really appreciate that you do this, and your guest, Jessica. I really appreciate that you guys, come out and support the community. I find that this community is really super supportive, and whatever you can put out there for free, you can sell, right? And so I really like that you're here. Thank you so much. But ADR work, I think I've got that right. When you're dubbing over not just a character, but you're trying to fill in the space of what was missing with someone whose voice you know. So, and when you're doing dubbing, I assume you're trying to match what that person kind of sounds like. So, is it different? Do you do that kind of work?
It depends. I haven't really done, I mean, dubbing is kind of like ADR in a sense. The whole thing is an ADR to a certain
Yeah.
extent. But unless it's a voice match, a specific voice match, like a lot of times Could be like a movie trailer. Someone, the star in the movie wasn't available to come in and redo a line for the trailer, say. So they might send out an audition for sides for a voice match for that actress in that character. That's totally different than what we will do. Sometimes the client will come back and they might want as close to a voice match as possible. And so we will cast accordingly and try to find someone who matches the voice tone and print as much as possible. But most of the time, we just kind of just go with what looks and sounds that it fits the voice on screen. And sometimes the client wants client approval, and usually it's just for the leads, and it might not be every lead. It might only be the top 2 leads or the top 4 leads, but we will have samples sent to the client. It might be based on an audition, sides that we send out to agents and they audition for that role, or it might be just demos or other voice samples that the studio has compiled, and we will pick our top 5, maybe even top 3 for the leads and send those off to the client for approval. They'll listen to them all. They'll either pick which one they like and tell us, okay, this person's going to be that role, or they might come back and say, we don't like any of those. Send us more. Okay, go back to the drawing board, get more voices, send them off. So just depends on the project and the client. Did that answer?
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all great information. Super, super.
Great. You're muted, Tish.
You could dub me. You could dub me.
I could have. I was like, la, 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 la.
I was trying not to cough. It's very similar. It's like cousin realms of voiceover, right? They're very related, very similar. ADR is bringing the background to life. It's being like a background voiceover actor, and looping or dubbing is being the star voice actor, being the star of the movie or the whatever the show is. And so you're very much in the front of. So the energy of doing the dubbing is you need to embody the energy and like everything that the lead actor is bringing to that part. You need to bring that forward. In ADR, we are deferring to that. We don't want to call ourselves, floor 9. Like it's not about that. It's the opposite. You want to be not. You are in the background. It's super important work, but the energy is very different. You want it to be like,
Yeah.
I'm just talking.
Yeah, and we do that. We'll have, like I said earlier, we'll have some people that are coming in to do incidental characters. They will do what we call the walla, which is all the background stuff. So it might be a scene in a restaurant that goes for 2 minutes, and I need layers of that. So I will have an actor go in and just start ad-libbing. And here's a trick: if you're not very good at ad-libbing, have a story to tell. Talk about your last trip or your favorite trip that you went on and just tell that story as if you're talking to your friend. Genius, right? So you just go in and you just start talking, and you're going to talk until I tell you to stop or until we hit stop. And you might see a band start of, walla, and then all of a sudden the band disappears. You just keep talking, and you can pause, you can stop, you can laugh, you can do whatever you can to make it sound as natural. It's super weird because you're kind of in a vacuum talking to yourself. You're not really having anybody else that you're talking off of or to or against. So I just tell people, just tell me the last trip you went on. What was your favorite vacation or a trip that you're excited to go on, or where's your dream vacation? And just tell me that story, because we just need to have voices in the background as this murmur, this chatter going on. And if it's a huge scene where it's a lot of people, big crowd of people, what we'll do is we'll have you do one pass, and then we might have you do another pass, maybe change your voice up, go a little lower, a little higher pitched, tell me a different story, and I'll have you do that. And I might have you do it 2 or 3 times, depending on how big the crowd is. And then what we'll do is we'll layer that on. So I could have I could turn 5 people and make them sound like 50. It's amazing and super cool. But the more you can be malleable in your stories and change it up, change the pitch of your voice, and be a little versatile in that, I'm gonna use you and yeah, work you to the bone, which is good. But yeah, but we'll do that. We'll do that in sessions. And some studios actually are starting, if they're starting to get wise to this, and they create beds, if you will, like a music bed, but it's a walla bed. So they will have a library of chatter, murmur, background noise for a restaurant, for a hospital, for an airport, or whatever the case may be, kids playing in a park, that kind of thing. So they're starting to build and maintain that audio library so that they can just pull that in and throw it into the show as needed.
Cool, cool. I think we have a couple more questions. Is Kelsey?
Oh yeah. We asked for more questions and the people were like, we got questions.
They answered.
Yay.
Um, So McKenna can't talk, so I'll speak for her. She noticed in your bio, Jessica, that you're a world traveler, and she'd like to hear more about that and how you balance it with dubbing, like especially if it's in-house, and if your world travel experience contributes at all with your ability to dub other cultures. That's a great question,
Oh my
McKenna.
God, that's awesome question. Thank you for asking that. Um, uh, balance, I just decide to go when I go. I mean, there was a time when it was like 2 years ago, I was doing project after project back to back to back, and I'm like, I need a vacation. And unfortunately, as a freelancer, you got to take the work as it comes, and you want to always have something to, you're always looking for the next job, but you also need a break. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. And so, to the extent that you can take a break, take it. But you got to plan it. You got to just book it out and take that time for you, because that's also self-care to make you be even better when you come back, because you need to kind of rest and reset. So I got to the point where it's just like, I gotta book the time out, and they're gonna have to work around me. And if I lose a job, I lose a job. I got to take care of me. So that's kind of how I just balance it. I just do it. But as far as has that influenced the dubbing, it's interesting because while I'm working on these dubs, I'm picking up bits and pieces of the language and learning a little bit of the language, as well as the culture and the nuances of how they speak and how they say things, and certain jokes that they make, or certain, like Korea, a lot of Korea, they have an honorific system where the way they uh, acknowledge people or talk to people, there's always a title involved, which we do not do here. But it's very interesting because there's definitely a hierarchy, and an importance and a respect level that goes with that. So I have not been to Korea or any Asian countries yet, but I would love to see that in action. So I mean, I'm also the kind of person, when I travel, there might be one or two touristy things that I want to do, but most of the time I'm against the touristy stuff. I want to go where the locals go. I want to be doing and experiencing what they do on a daily life, because that's kind of where you learn stuff, because touristy stuff is sort of, catered to whatever thing, because it's, making money. And I'd rather go and meet the locals, experience them, their food, and you learn a lot more from that experience, I think, than doing, the typical touristy stuff. So that definitely plays a part in the experience. So hope that answers your question.
Super cool. I thought too. Excellent. Do you want to do a couple more questions, Kelsey?
Do we want to do our little gift sharing moment and take a picture with everyone?
Yeah, let's before because we will be jumping off at the end of the class, wanted to class the quick Q&A. Wanted to get a moment where we're all together, and then also share how to keep in touch with us and some of the things that are going on with the dojo, so everyone will get that while we are together. So let's do this. Let's do pictures first. Let's do pictures first. Here's everybody, everybody's beautiful faces. I'm gonna do page 1 first. So, C and Meredith, if you are available. And there we go, we got it. All right. Okay, I know how to do this. It's cool. So say, dubbing. There we go. Deidre, yay. And Carla, your still picture looks like it so captures when you're on screen too. It almost works. And here's page 2. Say rodeo. Hold on. Here we go. Wait, hold on. I didn't do it. I pressed the wrong button. Rodeo. All right, we gotcha. Cool. Well, Jessica, how do people keep in touch with you? How do you work with people?
You can get in touch with me through my website, Jessica Blue. Oh my God, JessicaBlue.com. Sorry.
Wow.
Or you
Great.
can email me at jessvo@jessicablue, which is also on my website. And yeah, I do coaching. I do one-on-one sessions. I do some group classes. I'm not having any group classes just yet because I'm starting a production next week and I'm going to be in the studio all day. And, but yeah, reach out to me, send me your stuff. I'm always happy to listen to demos and meet new people. And also keep in mind too, that's a great way. Just even if you don't hear anything back from the person you're sending your stuff to, I also directors and casting directors talk to other directors and casting directors, and we're referring people all the time and dropping names like, oh hey, I just got a text message yesterday from another director with 15 other directors on the text thread, and I hate group text because it's like ping 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 ping. It's like stop, shut up. But she was touting this actress that had come in and done a dub for her. And she's like, she's phenomenal, she's amazing, you have to hire her. I'm like, oh my God, that's great. So we're constantly doing that left and right. So the more people you can put yourself in front of or make yourself known to, it's a good thing because again, we talk, we refer people. So do that. And there's all my links, everything.
Yay. Good, good, good. And then here at the dojo, we're always here, usually the first Wednesday of the month doing this. We have Get to Know VO usually on the third Wednesday. So there's all sorts of ways that you can keep in rhythm here. Right now, we have 2 special things we want to share with you. Um, on Saturday, we have a few seats left for what we are calling the Summer of VO, which starts with Launchpad and Workout, or You Should Do Voiceover Launchpad and Workout, which is our foundations. I recommend it for anybody who's anywhere on their journey because I think it complements and supplements everything you already know. And it's also it's also the way to get started with the dojo. So we meet you where you are. So it's a great place to get started. Summer VO also includes 2 months of our Mystery to Mastery core workout, which is a small group workouts that is completely devoted to developing your self direction skills in several different modalities that create real life settings. So we work in a coaching spotlight coaching modality. We work in a direction circle. We work in an audition round where everybody's like doing an audition, and we vote to see who goes to callback, and then if you don't get called back, then you join as a producer and you give notes. And it also includes being a spectator at one of our working pro workouts, which is called the VO Dojo Pro Fight Club. So that is the core. So summer of VO, launchpad and workout, and 2 months of M2M core. That is coming up, and we have a $100 discount for you on that. If you just want to do the workouts or the launchpad and workout, that's an option as well. And everyone can be a spectator at fight clubs as well. So, summer of VO, launchpad and workouts, or fight club. And then those are all options. A great way to get connected with the dojo is to get on my calendar and we can talk. that's signing up for a voiceover once over. I'd love to meet each and every one of you, hear where you are, where you want to be, see if there's, what's going on here that might be able to support you. So sign up for a voiceover once over. We'll figure out all the things. And then we also announced this on our last Get to Know VO, but it is the time of the year when we are taking applications for our Daniel Escobar scholarship, um, which is a full scholarship for our full year of training, 12 months of full training with the dojo through our Mystery to Mastery program. And it's open till August 3rd is the deadline. We are looking for people who, Daniel was someone, was part of the dojo, um, who just embodied artistic soul, unstoppable spirit through getting through so many things that he got through. He unfortunately he came through the dojo and unfortunately passed away just as he was coming to, like, everything was starting to happen for him. So it's been a dream. It's been a dream of mine for a long time to be able to create this in honor of Daniel and to have it be available. So it's a bunch of criteria are part of the decision-making process. Some need, some your force of will, your passion, what you believe in, what you're here for. So if you're interested, Kelsey will share the application. Really helps to get on my calendar so I get to know you. Really helps to get started with the the launch pad and workout, so we get to know each other, and I get to know each other. Um, so yeah, highly suggest checking all of that out, and I'd love to talk with each and every one of you about where you are and where you'd like to be. So that's what's going on. Always good, always like bounteous goodness happening here at the dojo. So
Um, Camille, do you have a question about the scholarship?
Kind of. I'm working on the submission for it, and there's the video portion that I'm trying to work on. I was wondering if you could explain to me a little bit more about Vouch. There even appears to be more than one website claiming to be a video site that says Vouch, but maybe they just have more than one banner.
yeah. Well, it sounds like a pretty specific question about the scholarship. Maybe touch base with Kelsey if you can let Kelsey know that you want to. But yeah, if you have any questions about anything about the process, just touch base with us, and we'll be happy to get you.
Thank, thank
The
you so
val
much for offering.
doing both the written share and the vouch share is very helpful because it helps, at the dojo, we talk about voiceover is communication, and communication is an exchange of vibrational energy. And so being able to hear your voice and feel that experience of your energy is a great thing, in addition to writing well, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. And this is for anybody on their journey. So yeah. Okay, so that's all the goodness. Do we have some time for, we've got a couple more minutes for some more questions, more great questions.
I did real quick. I want to throw out one thing. Another way to practice dubbing, and I'm not a sponsor. I do not get a kickback for this, but VoiceQ is the software that the majority of studios use for dubbing, and that's the one with the Rhythma band going along the bottom. They have different versions of VoiceQ. They have VoiceQ Pro, which is what the studios use because it links up to Pro Tools and all the other software that studios use. They have VoiceQ Writer, which a lot of adapters use because it's got all the same stuff without all the extra bells and whistles that the studios need. And then there's VoiceQ Actor, which it's a relatively new-ish version for specific to actors that they can have on their system, their computer at home. And if it got to the point where the studios technically they could send the actor the proxy videos and the scripts, and then the actor could upload it into VoiceQ Actor and have it on their end, as well as the studio. Most of the time, if it's a remote session, it's all on the studio side, and you're just joining a link and watching what's happening on the studio's end. However, VoiceQ is offering VoiceQ Actor for free for the remainder of the year.
Ooh,
I put a link
cool.
in the chat. It's under all of my links, and you can get that for free. You don't have to put in a credit card or anything. It's free for the rest of the year. So what you will get with that is you go on their site, download VoiceQ Actor, and you'll get the platform essentially, and they'll give you a sample video that's, I think, a cartoon, some animation with the script, and it'll tell you how to upload it and everything. And it's only maybe a 2 or 3 minute video, but it allows you to actually see the rhythm band in time,
Mhm.
practice the timing, practice watching and reading. So that's another great way to practice dubbing and get a little bit under
Yeah,
your
that
belt. In addition
that
to,
really is huge
yeah,
because usually it really is like, how do you learn this? On the job.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it's yeah, and it's not rocket science, but it is timing, it is tuning into two places at once.
And it
So
doesn't
it's
take that long to pick it up. I mean, I've had actors who've never done dubbing ever in their life, and they've come into a session and they pick it up. They get into the groove in about 15-20 minutes because
mhm,
it's nonstop. It's not like, you do one thing and then you often doing another thing. It's like take after take after take. So it's this repetitive thing. So the more you do it, the more you get better at it, the easier it becomes. And again, it's just that rinse and repeat. Do it, keep doing it, keep doing it.
yeah, yeah. Good. What other questions do we have, Kelsey? Take a few more. Oh,
So many
yeah,
good ones.
yeah. So,
Um,
so we'll take like one more question. We'll wrap up officially, but then if you want to stay on, we'll stay on a little bit longer to finish up the question. So,
okay, so next we have Laura Vialata.
Ah,
hi, Laura. What a fabulous pink booth you have. It's
Thank
Barbielicious.
Yeah, I got it in my vocal booth.
hi.
Hi. Well, my question is nice to meet you. Thank you for this space. My first language is Spanish. That's why I have an accent. I've done dubbing for about 10 years, adapting from English to Spanish. But recently I moved to LA and I'm trying to get into the dub industry. And I'm understanding how everything works here because it's totally different. So thank you for this space. I'm learning a lot. But yeah, my question is if I need to be SAG-AFTRA to do dubbing in LA, or there's also work for non-union in
There
dubbing.
is great question. There is some non-union dubs. It's kind of hit and miss. They're kind of wherever, all over the place. Most of the time, the dubs that are union are going to be the Netflix. Netflix, I think, only does union. Um, Amazon, they might do both. There might also be some other mm, not huge companies that do non-union projects as well. And again, the pay could be whatever. It's kind of the Wild West as far as pay goes because they're not following the Netflix agreement that SAG has. So it's kind of like you might get paid way less than you would from a SAG union job. But it's again, it's knowing who those other directors and producers are that might be getting those non-union jobs and getting in touch with them and making sure that you're on their radar. So yeah, it's possible.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool, cool,
I see.
cool. Which brings us to 10:59. So we will officially wrap up this Ask the Sensei with Jessica. Thank you all for being here. If you need to roll, there will be a replay of this so you can catch the last little bit of the last questions if you want to catch up, if you want to listen back to all the like really powerful gems here. We'll be back beginning of August, the first Wednesday of August. Um, so thank you all for being here. And if you got to roll, you got to roll. if you want to hang around for a couple more minutes, we'll see if we can get as many of these questions answered.
Thank
So,
you.
everybody. Yeah. Yeah, and sign up for a VOO. I want to talk to y'all. Yay! Um, cool. All right. Let's see if we can, maybe we can kind of rapid fire these last questions so we can get them all in.
Do it. Let's do it.
Okay. So, Rob, come on up with your Rhythmo Band question.
Well, I mean, you kind of answered it with the link that you send there, and is a way to practice that. But is Rhythm Band pretty much industry standard for dubbing, or are there other methods that you've seen out there, or has that just kind of become the easiest way to go?
It's the most standard one that I have run into. The majority of studios that I work at, they use the Voice Cue Rhythma Band. There is another studio here in LA, and also I think in Europe that uses a different software. I think it's called Capella, and it looks super weird because it looks like a music sheet with like 4 lines, and each character is on the 4 lines, and it's always those 4 lines on the bottom half of the video screen, and you kind of have to figure out which line your character's on and keep in line with that one. They're not different colors, it's all the same color, so it's a little confusing. It's another learning curve to get used to, and it's in cursive writing, which is super weird to like switch gears, like what is that? Like, do I need my glasses? I can't. What does that say? So it's a little bit different, but most of the studios use voice cue, and which I'm used to, and I prefer it. It's really easy to use and learn from. So yeah.
And Mike's pointing out that time-coded scripts also, so that you might hear the beeps and then come
Yes.
in, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do a 3 beep lift off, if you will. So after the 3rd beep, that's when you start talking. Other times on the Rhythma Band, there's a red line, and the second the line is going and it hits that red line, that's when you start talking. And by the time the sentence is over, you need to be over and stop talking by the time you're done.
Yeah, thanks for that input, Mike. It's good.
Thanks, Mike.
Good. Yeah. What else? What other questions?
Okay, Connie Howard, you've been waiting so patiently to ask a question, so come on up.
Hey,
Thank
Connie.
you, thank you, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks. This has been amazing. And I will say too that majority of my questions have been answered. I do want to take a look at that tool and practice because I have been thinking about dubbing. I love the way that this session opened because I am kind of morphing in my interests as far as having a VO career. So I'm glad to hear that that's kind of normal. I thought it was my ADD, but it's part. So, but my question is for people of color, right, in the dubbing world, and you're doing different scripts and whatever you're dubbing, how does that play in? For someone like myself, how often are you seeking out someone of color? Just like someone mentioned earlier, they're Spanish speaking. Well, there's definitely different dialects and things like that. So that's my question.
Excellent question. Thank you for asking that. I especially, and the dubbing community, very, very cautious and aware of casting diversely. And so if I see an African American actor on screen, I'm going to hire an African American actor all the time. End of story. I'm not having a Caucasian voice an African American. And same thing with Korean shows or Asian shows. We'll try and hire as many Koreans or Chinese, or even if they speak or don't speak the language, it's not a deal breaker. If you speak another language, that's huge because that actually helps us in the session. You can understand what it is they're saying and understand the intention behind it or the nuance of the culture of what they're trying to say. And a lot of times I've had actors come in, it's like, they're not really saying what's on the Rhythma Band. This is what they're saying. And so like, oh, that makes so much sense. Let's rewrite it and change it to this. So we'll write it on the spot. And that's super, super helpful. So if you know and speak fluently or even a little bit another language that you happen to be dubbing over, that's fantastic. That's another skill set in your pocket. So by all means, if you've got a website or whatever, put that you know different languages, that you speak different languages just that you sing. That's also super helpful because sometimes we have characters that sing, and so we need a certain and sing well. Sometimes it's like just a ditty or whatever, and that's okay. And sometimes it's fine if you sound like a bad singer. We need that too. And it's hard for a really good singer to sound like a bad singer. I've had to do that too. Like, I want to sound really good, but no, I'm supposed to sound terrible. It's like, okay, let's try and figure that out. But yeah, we are very much cognizant of again, finding the right voice for what we see on screen. So I want to try and match that as close as possible. So yeah, to the extent that there's a person of color, I'm hiring a person of color.
Yeah.
And one last question, because I did say I had a couple. Will you take someone, I mean, if it's their first time, like, what kind of experience would you expect them to have? To at least have done some voiceover work or some acting somewhere? They have to come with something.
Something, yeah. I mean, preferably, yes, you're not a newbie to voice acting, that you've done a couple of sessions. So at least you know session etiquette, you know how to work a microphone. I'm okay if you have no dubbing experience. I might not cast you as a lead if you don't have dubbing experience, because they do the heavy lifting because they have a ton of dialogue. But for a secondary and incidental, I 100% will hire someone who's never done dub before. I love that. I love being, the newbie person to, be the one to guide them along and help them get acclimated to this whole new genre of voiceover. So yeah, you don't necessarily need to come with no dubbing experience, but definitely acting experience. You got to know how to act and sound real and authentic, and not like a robot reading a script off of a piece of paper, because that's not going to fly. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Good questions, Connie. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yay, we have time for a couple more. What other questions do we have?
Okay, from the brilliant Miss Sensei Terry, come on up.
Yay. Yeah, Terry is part of our Sensei team. Awesome to have you here. Yeah, what's your question, Terry?
Okay, it was not letting me off mute. I don't know what that means. Hi, Jessica. I was so excited to see you were going to be here today. I recently got cast in something for HBO on dubbing, just like totally off of LinkedIn. I was like, what? And so I was like, when I saw your class, I was like, I should probably learn more about this. But my question is, so obviously I'm starting in a non-union position doing dubbing work, and I'm like, what's the ramp to union, and is that a good choice? Are there things to consider whether or not you want to be on more union jobs? Obviously the pay is better, but are there other things to consider?
I mean, the pay is definitely going to be better. And you have more protections, obviously, when you join the union. It's really up to you. It's a personal call. Is it going to allow you to do more jobs? Maybe. It depends on the client and what the project is as to whether or not it's union or non-union. And that's out of my control. I have no say in that. It's just like when I get hired, it's already done. The project's a done deal. If you are Taft-Hartley, you're on that fence of you're eligible to become SAG-AFTRA. You could definitely work on a union dub, and maybe, and especially if I'm, rooting for you, like, you're this voice, I want you as this character, and you're Taft-Hartley and the studio is pushing back. It's like, we only want union. I'm like, no, we're doing it. We're going to make our union or whatever, or have it be another SAG eligible job for you. I will definitely go to bat for you. Or if you're at that stage where you want to join the union and you're Taft-Hartley and eligible, then I will push the union, like, all right, get off your lazy butts and do whatever you got to do, and let's get this going. And that way you can do it. But honestly, I'm not even going to say that, but yeah, that's.
Oh, darn, it was going to be good. I know. But is there a way to leverage my current work to become union, if that's something that I am driving towards, which it is?
Yeah. Well, that, like I said earlier, some people will create those dubbing reels. which is, it's no different than, you know, a video game reel of your work in video games. So you could do some kind of compilation of that, of different
Okay.
that you were in or different characters that you voiced, and put that together and use that as something to like, hey, I've done dubbing, I really want to do this, and as use that as a catalyst to get in touch with other directors and producers and casting people, so that you're like, hey, not a newbie, done this before, hire me,
Yeah.
let's go, you know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yay, yay. Any more questions, Ghost?
Yep. One last question.
Hey, thanks for
Rich
starting.
Summers.
Rich. Is Rich still here?
Yes.
Oh, good
Oh,
for you.
oh, Rich told me to ask for
Oh, okay. Great. For him.
um so how, this is a big fat one and none.
Mhm. Don't
How do
worry.
you see AI affecting dubbing, ADR, and or Walla?
Excellent question. And that's
Mhm.
another top question I get all the time. AI is interesting with dubbing. It's super scary to see how crazy the technology is and what it can do. That said, I feel like for dubbing purposes, it's a ways off. We've got at least a few more years before that has a real huge impact, because to get all the studios on board at the same time using the same software, I don't see that happening anytime soon. um, b it's probably not hugely cost effective to have a lot of that software and technology because companies are cheap and they don't want to pay for it. But at the same time, if it's going to offset the cost of talent and pickups and all that kind of stuff, it might become a thing down the road. As far, I could see it being used more in the vein of incidentals and or Walla, um, because if they're able to just create, you know, that sound bed of chatter and tailor it to whatever place you're at, hospital, train station, airport, whatever, restaurant, that could be definitely useful and could save a ton of time and money. But again, I think that's down the road a ways. And so we got a few more years, I think. I'm not too worried about it just yet. So,
Well, matching a lead actor's performance, like that's acting,
yeah,
right? So it's hard for, like, you can tell when they are, my cats had three kittens. You know,
exactly.
it's even though it's getting better, but
Well,
it's still so good.
I saw this crazy technology where they took a scene from a film. It's this girl sitting on top of this pole and she's saying something in a different language, and the original language of whatever film the show was in, and she's saying it whatever and all that stuff. Literally they took that scene, put it into this software, and it morphed her mouth, and
Wow,
to whatever the new language was. So then they put it in a different language and it looked flawless. They put it in English, it looked flawless.
wow.
And they didn't
But
change.
but she wasn't saying that her brother was just killed by a truck, right? She was just saying, "Hi, I'm a girl sitting on a post."
No, it was like an actual scene. So it was like super
Oh,
drama
it
film.
was a scene.
Like,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So she
So,
was like,
okay, I
oh
take it
my
back
God, we're
then.
so high up. This is crazy. What are we gonna do?
Oh,
And it
okay.
was just like
Gosh.
that
Okay.
same intention, same
Oh,
emotion,
okay.
all of it. It was just like literally, it was the
Oh,
wildest thing.
wow. So don't get all cocky, Tish. Yeah.
It was
Yeah. Wow.
But again, that like that thing, I think that would be more for like big budget movies, maybe,
Hmm.
or because I feel like that's like upper echelon type stuff,
Mhm.
not a lot of the stuff that I'm working on. But who knows?
Yeah.
We'll just
Really quick, Terry, do you want to shoot your question real quick before we hop off of here?
Oh, yeah, just curious about sharing on social media. Are there, taboos to doing that? Will studios get angry? Or you can say, "Oh, I'm so thrilled to voice the voice of so and so in this so and so series."
Great question. Definitely make sure that you have permission to say that stuff. Usually it will be after it airs, after it
Mm,
comes out, because if you're usually signing a gazillion NDAs. They're very, very hush hush about it, and they want to keep everything locked down until it's actually comes out streaming and airing online or wherever it's going to be. So, and it will be bad if you post about it. There's some studios where they make you lock up your phones before you go into the session, and because someone screwed up and took a picture like, look at me, I'm voice and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like out, it's like, no, no, no. So it's all very hush hush, confidential, signing NDAs. And so you do not want to talk about it, promote it. You shouldn't, because you're going against your NDA, violating it. So you don't want to do that and be put on someone's blacklist. So don't do that. Be smart. Wait until after. Yeah. And I've had actors reach out to me like, hey, did this show ever come out? I'm like, yeah, dude, it came out in April. Where were you? He's like, oh, but like, check it out and promote it. I'm like, yeah, go for it. Do it.
Okay. And as far as visuals, can you use like behind the scenes of you pretending the voices, since you wouldn't videotape it during a session, but
Yeah.
or show the person, the actor that you're voicing or
Yeah,
anything like that?
I've done that. Usually I will try to make sure that I don't have the video or anything about the project in the picture. I will happy to take selfies and whatnot with actors after or before a session. And usually it's a very, um, coded post and like, hey, back in the studio with Blue, or did an awesome dubbing session. Can't talk about it because NDA, whatever. And then fast forward to when it comes out, it's like, this is the thing. And you might even grab a clip from the show off TV or whatever and use that. Yeah. But again, it's very, very covert while you're in production, but once it's released and out there in the masses, you can do it.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, we are getting tinier and tinier, but thanks for sticking through to the end, to the Ferris Bueller ending here. And great to have you, Jessica. Great to have everyone here. Super smart, super helpful questions for everyone.
Really great.
Yeah, Jessica, I want to make sure we're in touch. We get you in touch with our Fight Club producer, Emily, to get you to come and do a Fight Club with us. Because
Yeah.
getting to it's one thing to practice by yourself, but getting to work with a director who is able to guide and to guide through the process, it allows you to get it so that then when you book your job, you're good. So we'll make sure that Jessica's on the calendar for Fight Club. And yeah, Kelsey put everything back in the chat. So if you want to take a second and grab that. Speaking of Fight Clubs, we have this no next Thursday, Samantha Morrison from Mark Grau Recording Studios. She's an amazing video game director, and they get really cool games, really well known for the games that they produce, that they direct there. And then this is the highlight of the year, Fight Club wise. Renee Johnson from Disney Character Voices is coming. She comes once a year. She does not record. She's very low key about being out in the world, but she is if you have any aspiration of being a Disney anybody, Renee is the person who one of our favorite success stories with Renee is Caitlin Robrock, who is the current voice of Minnie Mouse. Didn't book Minnie Mouse from a session from a Fight Club, but it was where she first met Renee. And then she's also, very passionate and very good. So Renee is a really amazing person, and voice matching is a really, really incredibly, well, I guess it's tied to what we're talking about today. But it's an incredibly specific, actually it's 100%. It's just voice matching Snow White or voice matching a character, but it's a very, very specific skill set, and Renee is amazing at it. She's really one of the best. So to play demo reps and booking, if you're not on our roster, fill out an application, and then everyone can buy a spectator seat. So show up for those. Yeah, and sign up for a voiceover once over. Get your scholarship applications in, and if you're able to jump in on Saturday and start summer VO and Launchpad, we'd love to have you work with us. So Kelsey, thanks for keeping everything on track and everyone aligned. And Jessica, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights and your true passions for this work. It's contagious. And yeah, I hope so there's lots of helpful things. We'll have a replay out soon. And we'll see you all very soon.